All right, starting with introductions in the room. I'm Dana Trey with the Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities, and I will pass it off to Rachel.
Sure, I'm Rachel Eid with Santa Rosa City Bus.
Emily Betts with SMART.
Dawn Gooch, SCTCA.
Chris Barney, SCTCA.
Araceli Vasquez, Petaluma Transit.
Jared Hall, Petaluma Transit.
All right, and if the folks online could go ahead and introduce themselves.
Ross Plandetta, SCTCA.
Beth Britt, Transportation Planner at SCTCA.
Margot Cañas, SCTCA.
Jacob Brown from Golden Gate.
Zoe Unruh with SMART.
Dave Sorrell, San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission.
All right, great. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? I don't see any public here. Do you see anyone?
Nope, no online comments either.
All right, and then we'll go ahead and come back to item number 3, approval of the meeting notes. Under regional funding, we have the TFCA and TDA3 quarterly reports, and I'll pass that over to Margot.
Certainly. Dawn, I don't know if you're able to, I believe this is in the packet, but if you're able to share the PDF on the screen. In short, in your packets, there should be the overview of the TDA projects. This is based on reporting that closed out with the county at the end of September. And for the TDA3, just sharing that the table now includes obviously ongoing projects as well as those for the fiscal year ending 2026. I will call out, or if I could have you take note of your particular projects, thank you, and their expiration date. There are ones that are heading into expiration in June of next year. So this is sort of the 8th month warning, or just providing notification. And then likewise on the TFCA, so the following page, similarly outlining listed by jurisdiction, the current projects, and with several of them closing over the past period, just again, notification that some final reports are due, ideally this month in October. But if you have any questions or concerns about the remaining balance or extensions or other, by all means, feel free to reach out. I know it's probably a bit of an eyesore to see that up on the screen, so hopefully you have the hard copies with you. And that's it.
Thanks, Margot. Any questions on TDA3 or TFCA projects, quarterly reporting? All right, thanks, Margot. Let's get through regional funding and then maybe we'll go back, since we do have a quorum now. We'll go back to the notes after that. So the next item is TDA and STA updates. I'm sure that all of you saw this, but I just wanted to make sure that you did see the STA actuals that came in for FY25. They came in quite a bit lower than estimated, and I'm imagining you all have seen this and maybe been given rescission notices already. I just want to make sure that you are aware of it. So for the entire Bay Area, it came in about 12% lower than what was estimated. So some pretty large rescissions there. Yeah, so not great news, especially after the drop in the funding anyways. But it sounds like everyone is aware, so that's not a big surprise there. I also thought this would be just a good opportunity to check in on the TDA receipts as well. I am trying to keep Brian's spreadsheet living and have it included in the packet. And we just got the first quarter receipts in for TDA, which are, it's been the last 3 quarters, it's been, relatively flat, which is better than the 6 quarters before that, which it was down, which were down. So just wanted to bring that to you all and give you a chance to take a look at it.
Thank you. This is helpful to see. I was curious. So I'll take flat.
Flat's better than down. Yes.
Point.
Yes.
Thanks, Dana. Has anybody received their STA rescission yet?
I believe we did. I'd have to double check with Sean, but we spoke about it, so I think we know what it is. And off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it was not a small precision. So,
Yeah, we got an estimate from MTC, but we haven't gotten the official number yet. I was just curious if anybody else had.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'll have to verify that.
I don't believe we have Petaluma has either yet.
Okay, yeah, it's probably just not finalized.
Who's talking?
I think that's Jake.
Oh, this is Jacob Brown from Golden Gate.
Oh, okay.
All right, any other questions, comments on TDA, STA updates? All right, hi, David. Since we have some folks who joined since we started, I'm just gonna name them for the record, Dawn, and then we'll go back to approval of the meeting notes. So Kathleen Sullivan from Marin Transit's here, and David Davenport from Golden Gate Transit, and Stephen Schmitz from Sonoma County Transit have joined the meeting. So we do now have a quorum, and I'd like to just circle back to item number 3, which is approval of the meeting notes from August 13th.
Motion approval?
Any opposed? All right, great, thank you. So we will jump back down to item number 5, planning, and the first item here is outreach summary from our comprehensive transportation plan, and I believe Ross is going to be sharing a presentation.
That is correct. Good morning, Transit TAC members. I'll share a presentation. And let me know if that is appearing correctly.
Looks great.
Okay, excellent. So, yeah, public engagement is a key component of the Sonoma County Comprehensive Transportation Plan. So we want to be sure the plan reflects the diverse transportation needs, priorities, and goals of all Sonoma County residents. And the outreach process was designed to be inclusive, equitable, and responsive, with a focus on reaching historically underrepresented communities and seeking feedback from all areas of Sonoma County in the interest of shaping the county's transportation future. So these goals, the goals and guiding principles that you see, these align with the broader objectives of the community-based transportation planning program, CBTP, and the CTP's vision of a more connected, equitable, and sustainable transportation system. So the engagement strategy followed a phased multimodal approach that emphasized listening, collaboration, and transparency. And just to note that, this was not created in a vacuum, certainly drew from the engagement process drew from what was done previously for CTP, as well as you can see, Bay Area Plan 2050, and the Active Transportation Plan as well. And just to touch also on outreach fatigue, which can certainly be something locally as multiple agencies and organizations are reaching out, just trying to really justify, at least that was the challenge for me sometimes in-person events, really just explaining the importance of getting feedback on this and how the rubber really does meet the road when this plan helps direct funds. So target audience, outreach effort were tailored to engage a wide range of stakeholders, as shown here. Data from these populations collected in the previous engagement efforts were also utilized. Just to note, we talk a lot about getting out to underrepresented populations. We certainly had some challenges that I did just want to mention. We unfortunately live in an era where some populations are not comfortable coming out to to government events and things like that. There's a lot of fear in the community, unfortunately. So the way we kind of worked around that was working more closely with the CBOs, Latino service providers, but also in North County, La Familia Sana in Cloverdale and Geyserville really helped kind of get the word out, get bilingual surveys out to people that were not comfortable showing up to big events in person. So I think that as we move forward with this effort and other ones, CBO collaboration is absolutely crucial. Outreach tactics and tools. It wasn't just me, like in the picture. We had a lot of help from a lot of folks, but that's the picture I had. We used a mix of in-person and virtual methods. So community meetings, pop-ups at local events, and presentations to some key groups. Surveys were offered online and on paper, and some of the kind of trends that I'm going to show are based on those surveys, but we also got other feedback as well. They were offered in English and Spanish, in some cases with incentives to boost responses. Mainly that was through La Familia Sana, as I mentioned, through the North County, Cloverdale, Geyserville outreach. Short videos and coordinated social media helped explain the issues and drive participation. And we're very thankful to partner agencies who have much wider reach on their channels, helped get the word out. And yeah, the type form was the tool we used for surveys. I think that worked pretty well. And yeah, all materials, flyers, videos, web content were available in English and Spanish to ensure accessibility. So the timeline, engagement followed a 4-phase timeline, starting with a review of the past planning efforts to identify the key themes. And in phase 2, partnered with CBOs to host events, interviews, bilingual survey, as mentioned before. And then the upcoming phase, phase 3, will focus on sharing the draft CTP and gathering feedback via some workshops, listening sessions. And then phase 4 will be the final plan rollout and public release. So just to get just kind of a little teaser of the data here, getting into some of the questions, and yeah, to be clear, this is from survey data. So Sonoma County residents, voiced some strong support for safer, more connected infrastructure for walking, biking, public transit. Let me just make sure I'm on the right slide here. Yeah, this is where I want to be. I apologize, jumping ahead there. So, many folks want alternatives to driving that reduce traffic. Interest in electric vehicles is growing, but some big concerns remain, mainly about cost, access, and sustainability. Participants also highlighted challenges like long transit routes, limited rural service, and safety for non-drivers, walkers, bikers, rollers. And really kind of underscored the need for a more equitable and more user-friendly transportation system. So let's get into, yeah, this slide is transportation priorities. Interestingly, prioritizing long distance and out of county trips scored high. We kind of dig into the written responses to get more out of that, but we see, driving is prioritized. So there is certainly, drivers are not only interested in convenience, but also safety from their perspective as well. Biking is very strong, a lot of advocacy for that, and certainly prioritizing bus and rail service. I do want to note that we had a lot of, just especially in this meeting, a pretty concerted effort from SRJC students to come out and express support for the Clipper, is it the Clipper Start program that was offered for part of the time. And I know we did a lot of work kind of trying to explain the logistics to that, and that was a pilot program, but there was a lot of responses related to free or reduced fare transit for students or others. EV adoption. Incentives are definitely the top choice, getting people into EVs, which is kind of a, interesting time for that right now. Also, where people live, in multifamily housing and, whether they're owners or not can certainly have a lot to do with whether they're able to charge at home or set up charging. There's some interest in e-bikes. If there's incentives related to that, I think people would be interested there. The carpool lane was lower down on the list, but there has certainly, with the expiring tags, that's certainly a topic of discussion that did come up. And reducing car use, asking respondents about what would help them make the choice to drive less. The top suggestions were more frequent transit with extended hours and routes, free or discounted transit passes, as I mentioned earlier, and better infrastructure and shuttles from transit connections. So certainly that first last mile is a big thing that comes up. And equity in transportation. This was a big concern, but I think it's a lot of it got into kind of geographical equity. So we have a picture of the Springs and a picture of the West County in Monterey, just kind of representing a lot of the comments we received about folks who are not on the 101 corridor and do not have all the options that people do on that route. So that east to west connection is still a big concern. We heard a lot about that. So, certainly there was also comments about, some communities, areas of Roseland that are, do not have proper sidewalks, but yet have a lot of school children walking. Things like that certainly come up. But I think, yeah, geographical equity, which certainly corresponds with economically impacted areas too, came up. So I know it's a very general question, but we did receive a lot of written comments as well that about, a lot of them that will be integrated into the plan. And the demographics, this is rather telling. So strong participation from older adults and younger residents. Some of that is just where we were. Some of that is also who is just very involved. The employment status, income levels were not super high. And I think that's also representative of, I think, youth and older adults in Sonoma County. Some telecommuting and geographically, highest responses from Sebastopol, Santa Rosa, and Petaluma, although we were out in all areas of the county, east, west, north, south, multiple stops in all jurisdictions. So the next steps, As it once complete, we will be sharing the draft CTP with the public for review and input. I believe we're planning to have a kind of open house style workshop here at the office. That's going to give folks a chance to really kind of dig into any questions they have about the draft and content. And then once it is board approved, CTP will be released digitally with some limited print copies. We will have a Spanish language version available as well. And then that will be promoted out through our channels and partner channels as well. So that is my presentation for today on the outreach for CTP. Please feel free to reach out now or later with any questions you have. And I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Ross. Any questions or comments for Ross?
Thanks for the presentation, Ross. This is Jared. I was wondering, I know you mentioned the different communities that provided the survey responses. Was there an analysis of like how many were provided within each community and whether that's representative of like the population of the community as a whole of the county, or is that kind of weighted whatsoever?
I mean, there was an option to give zip code on the survey, so we do have an idea. You know, I guess it's representative in the fact that we have, you know, Santa Rosa and Petaluma probably numbers wise have the most responses, and it's more of a smattering when you get into North County, West County. I do not think it's a perfect representation of the county, and you know, the challenge with a lot of these is that it really skews towards people that are very involved already and kind of have a cause. You know, we did try to vary the timing of events, you know, and while we had some farmers markets, we also had kind of like the Fix It Fair in West County and some other, you know, trying to hit up some, you know, if you just go to like luxury events and things like that, you will get a certain demographic. So we did try to change that up, but I think this was not as big of an outreach effort as the last CTP was, just because this is a smaller update. So a lot of this is also building on some of the wider outreach that happened. So that's none of that directly answered your question. I think that, you know, I can show you the geographical breakdown, and it is, you know, have more heavily weighted for places that more people live, but I don't know that it's a perfect representation.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, if it is possible at any point where based on that zip code data, you can maybe break down responses informed by that. I'd be curious to see for the different communities what the responses are, because I imagine it would vary somewhat community to community. Like if you're Santa Rosa and Petaluma, more frequent transit service may be more highly weighted than like kind of the regional connectivity connecting like all the cities. If that's
Right.
possible, it'd be interesting to see.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I believe we can break that down. Yeah, that would be interesting. I'll look into that.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
We did have one online comment. David Sorrell said it might have been Bay Pass for the SRJC, SJSU, and Berkeley were pilots.
That is exactly what it was. And Dana can give more background, but we did get some rather in-depth kind of responses back. You know, we really appreciate the student involvement, but in the end, that is a MTC pilot program, and we were only able to kind of help facilitate so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ross. There was definitely an effort to spread the survey around to the San Jose Junior College students. So there was sort of a skew for responses specifically related to the Big Pass program. All right, any other questions for Ross? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is the MTC Bay Area Transit Priority Policy for Roadways. There's an announcement and with a link to the draft plan, and Chris has.
Yeah, I can give a
Okay.
quick quick update. I think everyone's kind of been following the transit priority policy for roadways that MTC's been working on through the regional network management group. So a link to the updated draft policies provided in the agenda packet. So if you'd like to kind of dig into the details, but I just wanted to provide kind of a high level look at where things are at now. So they released the draft policy back in spring in April. But they received a lot of comments from that. We commented on it. A lot of our local agencies provided comments as well on the draft policy and where it was at. So the entire purpose for this policy is to really promote stronger coordination and communication during project development phases for projects that are happening on roadways that have transit service and transit routes, right? And so the idea is to add some additional content to the Complete Streets checklist to consider not just active transportation, but also transit. And I believe before there was one transit question. So they're looking at expanding that to maybe 3, 4, or 5 different questions on the Complete Streets checklist. So this would be required, complying with this policy would be required for any project requesting MTC endorsement or more than 250,000 in MTC discretionary funding along any facility that has transit service. So if there's no transit service, it would not apply. And you could just put not applicable on that Complete Streets checklist section. So as I mentioned, there were a lot of comments submitted in response to the initial draft. So MTC was largely responsive to all of those comments and made a lot of revisions. And I think folks are generally happy with where things are landing right now. So some of the comments focused on conflicts with existing Complete Streets policies and the checklist, inconsistencies with NACDO guidance and MUTCD standards, mentioning that incentives should be for jurisdictions adopting policies. There were quite a few comments about the transit priority network, and that's another piece of this. There'll be some additional requirements and policies associated with what MTC is calling the TPN or Transit Priority Network that will be developed in the next year or so. There were quite a few concerns about conflicts between transit and active transportation projects, right? Like making things less safe for people walking and biking while prioritizing transit and vice versa. So they've provided some guidance and language on that. Clarity about where it would apply. So they've been very specific about that, the TPN facilities with transit, and then also projects that are requesting MTC funding and endorsement. And then approval authority, making a distinction between transit agencies approving projects and consulting on projects. So those were kind of the big areas of comments. So, the main changes, really focused on not dictating local roadway design. That would remain a local decision. And, changing the language, focusing on coordination and not like a veto at some point. So as far as implementation goes, later this year, the policy will go into effect either late this year or early next year. So project sponsors with projects on these roadways would need to review a project with affected transit agencies. There'll be additional language in the Complete Streets checklist, and then transit providers would have 20 days to respond. So I think that all very much applies to you. If you don't get back and don't respond, the project sponsor can basically document that and say, hey, we reached out, we didn't receive a response, we tried a few times, and then check the box that way. And then MTC also has local expectations that local jurisdictions would be encouraged to adopt resolutions of support for the regional policy, adopt standalone transit priority policies, modify existing related local policies or plans and Complete Streets policies. And then MTC is talking about bonus points for MTC discretionary funding for projects that go through this process and comply. So I mentioned the transit priority network as well, so that's still pending. MPC still developing the criteria that'll be used to identify that regional network. So there'll be a map out available, and I'm sure there'll be opportunities to weigh in on the, different factors that'll be used to identify that. But there'll be additional requirements for project sponsors along that transit priority network, including transit supportive design elements. So there's a lot of information available at the link in the agenda packet if you want to go read the MPC staff reports. There's also a flow chart that kind of maps out the process that a project sponsor would take if they have a project on a route, a facility with transit service that they could walk through, including reaching out to you all and consulting on it. So encourage you to take a look at that. That's, that kind of gives a good overview of how the process would work. So materials there, MTC staff's taking this through their regional network management groups at MTC before taking it to the final commission. And they're looking to have everything approved by the end of this year. So making updates to the existing complete streets checklist. And Dan and I have been talking about, right now that goes to our CD pack. So figuring out, if there need to be changes to that process and potentially bringing something to the TTAC as well, associated with that. So that's where things are at. I'm sure you've heard a little bit, but just wanted to make sure the information's out there and provide a place to provide questions and discuss the policy here. So that's all I've got right now. If you have any questions, I may know some of the answers, but we can follow up with MTC as well.
Where did you say that process is illustrated?
So there's a link to all the materials and staff reports in the agenda packet. In one of those staff reports, there is a flow chart that kind of walks through the process. And there's the policy document. I believe it's 6, 7, or 8 pages that kind of outlines everything as well. So those are probably the two best sources.
When does the 20 days happen?
That's a good question. I think it's from
our biggest concern with this all along is we never get consulted early enough. Like the checklist is, we have a fully baked project. We're just coming for funding. And so the way it was before, and I don't think this policy really fundamentally changes this, is that they bring it to a BPAC.
Yeah.
And we're like, great. So that doesn't accommodate transit. Well, and so it's either like deny their funding. I mean, then it's really like, we're not going to veto the project because we support bike projects too. But if the jurisdiction didn't take into account transit early enough, then it's really hard to amend it at that point.
Right.
And so I didn't know about the 20 days. I'd just be curious, like this, I don't think this policy does anything to say at project initiation, because there's no lever at project initiation except for, hey, cities, don't forget about us, and saying that over and over and over and over. So anyway.
No, that's a great point. And, I think the trigger is when the project sponsor reaches out, sends an email or sends a notice to you
And presumably that's at least 20 days before they're like being approved by a BPAC.
Hopefully, right? Yeah. So, the goal and intent is to have that happen earlier, much earlier during, when the project's being in the initial phases. But, I don't think there's any strict requirement on that in the policy as it is now.
Yeah. It feels like a step in the right direction, but doesn't solve any of the fundamental challenges we've had, which is we don't get reached out to early enough. If there's a fundamental modal conflict, this doesn't resolve it. And
that's where maybe some of those local policies could address some of that, right? Like if City of Santa Rosa had a local policy that said, hey, when the project is being initiated, let's talk early about conflicts. So that may be a spot to address those issues. Yeah.
And we're trying to get stuff into city bike plans of addressing, like transit modal, have our standards.
Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with bus stops and how do you deal with modal conflicts, and see if we can filter them into bike plans.
Right.
It just, that onus is all on us to keep proactively trying to track all the bike plans. And again, for like agencies that are operating through so many jurisdictions, it's onerous.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. I'll also say just on this note that on the transit priority network, roadway network, our CTP that was just adopted, I guess, early this year, has a transit priority network for Marin County. So that was one of the things we put, it has a few modal networks. I don't know if yours is going to, but we're gonna push pretty hard for that to be in the, like, to not have two.
Yeah, I've heard
We've done
Derek,
the work.
I've heard Derek advocate for that, and I think MDC is definitely open to it.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Just FYI.
yeah,
It doesn't sound like you have one, but
no, but yeah, it doesn't make sense to do it twice, right?
yeah.
So,
How far out looking is your network, Kathleen?
It's really just, it doesn't have a timeline associated with it. Nor does it have projects associated with it. It just says these are the most important corridors.
Okay.
It has, here's all the transit corridors, and then here's a subset that are sort of the most important ones. Where at a minimum, I think it has some language in there, like at a minimum, do no harm. Don't do projects that are gonna slow us down, and ideally, start to work on implementing transit priority projects that might actually speed us up. Some roadways, it's gonna be real hard to do that, aside from TSP, because there's just not enough right of way, but it at least puts a stake in the ground of like, hey, don't forget about us on these streets, most importantly, these streets.
Yeah, I've seen the 20-day responses triggered by when the project sponsor reaches out initially. And that a 10-day extension could be requested if there's hardship in that. I think we've taken some complete streets checklist to this committee before, but need to come up with a more formal process. And I think that as much as we can encourage the project sponsors to reach out well ahead of any committee meetings, that would make the process go much more smooth.
Because the ultimate landing place is they get approved by BPACs and then they go to MTC, right? Or now they have to be approved by transit and BPACs and then go to MTC, but when that all happens is not.
that's an outstanding question, right? Like right now, it's just the BPAC that approves the complete streets checklist.
Right, there's a question on there confirming that the project sponsor has consulted with
Has consulted,
transit.
yeah.
And then they need to provide some sort of documentation of that.
So we could make a change, right, and bring it to the TTAC as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there will be some updates to the Complete Streets checklist platform as well. So hopefully I think that right now it's a little bit of a wonky process where like you check, no, you haven't consulted yet. And then that's stuck in there when you bring it to the BPAC. So I think that what I'm hearing is this new version, they're trying to make it so that you can update things along the way with each step and actually confirm by the time it went to BPAC that it has gone through that review.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that should be ready for the rollout of this like early next year.
Hopefully, yeah. And once we start seeing things, we can bring it to this group and the CVPAC as well.
Oh, Zoe.
Hi, I was just wondering, with these changes, will there be an expectation for those complete streets checklists that have been approved by BPACs to be resubmitted? I don't know if I heard that in the presentation.
I haven't heard anything like that, so I think this would just be going forward. So thanks for that question. Yeah, retroactively digging in would be pretty big. Yeah, pretty big task.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Moving on to item 6, transit integration updates. On the local bus operator side, we've been continuing to make progress on the websites, and really hoping to have something fun to show you guys like by next meeting. Also coordinating with Sonoma County Transit on the treats plan, and looking forward to scoping in more detail, the kind of next phase of planning work for transit integration. Anything else anybody has to add on that? Some things teeter so much between regional report outs and the transit integration work. All right, then let's move on to the regional meetings report outs. And I will just open it up to whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead, David.
Not too many regional operators here, so just a quick update on the regional mapping and wayfinding project. MTC is doing some sort of accessibility outreach and analysis with the consultant. I'm not directly involved, so I don't know the details, but there's some sort of comment deadline in the next week or two on it. So reach out to whomever you are contacting for that particular project if you have questions.
Also on that regional mapping wayfinding topic, two things. So they're moving forward with what they're calling their single level station signage design guidelines. I just have everything that's in my inbox for that title, which will cover SMART, Caltrain, and ACE. So I talked to Gordon last week. He called me just to make sure we still want to do this. Yes. I'm assuming this process will take quite a long time, but then ultimately the goal is for us to have design guidelines in place so that we can do wayfinding stations, obviously, like was similar to what was put in at Santa Rosa. Related also, I got a timeline update on Larkspur in case you're interested, because that's the Marin pilot location. And I think that's about a year out from installation. So moving but moving forward, so that's great. I have my original update. Clipper is moving forward.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Fair payments are starting, I believe, in November.
Is that official?
I think the board meets Friday.
I don't think it's official.
Maybe not official. I heard something on the radio this morning. Well, it may be about BART, right?
Yes. Yeah, it has moved forward on BART.
I thought it was October 20th.
They're making a decision on October 20th at CEB.
I was gonna say CEB.
Of whether we're a go on Next Gen Clipper, and if they're not a go on Next Gen Clipper, they're gonna default to open loop for everyone.
Correct.
And yeah, they've been polling all the transit agencies on their preference of those two options over the past couple weeks. So.
Yeah. Marin Transit was the only one to oppose open loop because fair rules. Literally, they will have completely different fair rules on open loop and Clipper, and that just doesn't. Like one is one tap and one is two tap.
Your
Like that
system
would
will
be
be
wildly confusing for our
completely
passengers.
different. So
Yeah.
yeah, it makes complete sense that you would be in opposition to it.
So Clipper has now gotten very complicated for us unless they can launch it.
Was anyone else opposed or was everyone
Nope,
else?
we're the only ones.
Okay.
But we're the only ones in this situation in the whole region.
Yeah.
It's a really unfortunate, unique situation to be in.
And they gave us about a 1 month window for when the launch could be. I heard it was sometime between November 13th and December 13th,
Yeah.
but which seemed oddly specific to me. But it should be imminent.
Yeah.
I think if there's full C2 launch, the rollout needs to be complete prior to when people come here for the Super Bowl. So I think that's what's driving that particular timeline.
Yeah. We also looked up 10 to 15% of our Clipper passengers don't tag off and get charged $8 instead of $1.80. $8 instead of $1.80.
No, what percent?
Almost 15,
Wow.
like 13 to 15. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Granted, our Clipper ridership is low, but that's why.
Right.
Because you risk paying $8 instead of $1.80. Yeah.
And then we're finally hearing about our CST, which is the new version of the terminal.
Oh, yeah.
So we're hoping that we get that soon. And we're still determining that we'll have to run both systems for a while. How long we keep the tote running for the older clipper cards that people have before we do away with that system and shift over to tote altogether. We're probably gonna do it for a month or so ourselves, but I don't know if other agencies have considered that as well.
One other comment, I don't know if any of the agencies here have FIMPs, but which are the handheld, the HCR4 replacements? You do? Okay, yeah. They've been very challenging for us, sluggish, poor battery life, some incompatibility with Android. Yeah, the new ones, although MTC said that Cubic just released a new software update a few days ago, so fingers crossed for some improvement.
Just turn it off and turn it on again.
There you go.
But I didn't know.
IT professional, you know that trick.
You're the new director of IT. Congratulations. Reminds me of that show from back in the day that was a British one. Anyway, so I don't know if you've been testing your FIMPs or not, or if you would even know, but yeah, our ferry staff has found it challenging.
I sit next to the IT. When people come looking for him and he's not there, I just say, have you tried checking?
You're like, I'm the deputy IT.
Resume, right?
Yeah. They're like, well, you're here, Emily, what can you do?
And we got some of the new C2 test cards, but we haven't had a
Yeah.
chance to use ours yet. I don't,
Yeah.
okay.
They're encouraging you to start using them.
Yeah, they sent an encouragement email to us and we were like,
Yeah.
well, but we didn't receive any cards. So if you want to send us some cards, then
I think you
we'll
have to sign
implement
up
it."
for them.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, what's funny is there's a letter, you have to carry this letter around in
Oh, you
case they
do?
want to charge you. It's like, show them the letter. It's like, yeah, I'll just pull out the letter saying, this is a test card and please don't charge me. If you're like on Smart or something and they say this card's not working. So they say, keep the letter with you.
Oh, that's good to know. How long do the test cards last?
There's $50 value. I don't know if they can
Okay.
re-add them.
That's-
I don't
I
think
think
they have
that's
expiration
great.
dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look for Stephen Smith with the Lord.
Won't get us very far on our system. Then.
Yeah. $50, no.
1 week later.
I think the new ones only have 20, the most recent released one,
Oh, really?
but you can order as many as you want.
There,
We're gonna
that's
try
fine.
transferring balances between cards.
And then mascots, we skipped the GM meeting in September, but we're meeting again on October 20th. Was there any, what's that?
17th.
Oh, sorry, 17th. Anything worth noting on the updates for that or the night service options we've been discussing? I think it's worth.
I think Golden Gate and Marin Transit well, Golden Gate has finalized its service plan is taking, you should say that actually.
We have our revised service plan that'll go to Transportation Committee on the 23rd and the board on the 24th. The Marin Transit presentation that got picked up by the IJ actually does a pretty good job of explaining that the primary difference is the Route 130 will terminate in Strawberry rather than Marin City, so a little bit further north.
Yeah.
Some other tweaks around the system. And let's see. I think at the GM meeting on the 17th, I don't expect there to necessarily be resolution on the late night service question or the paratransit question, but neither one of those really have to be answered until until we're ready to go in April, I guess. So.
I do think we need, I think the goal is to resolve the paratransit one is, or at least it will definitely be a topic.
Yeah, it'll be a topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we have time to work through it.
Never reopened.
I think it's. Great. What else was I thinking about mascots? Yes, so we should talk, great. And Kathleen, I'll check in with you as well, and then, yeah, David, I'm assuming that is your report going to be out by the GM meeting or
GM meeting's on Friday the 17th.
Yeah.
Friday the 17th?
Yes, so it'll be at a minimum out then. It might come out Wednesday, just because we're going to present the revised proposal to BPAC on the 15th. But the people closer to the project want that, but our district secretary's office, I don't think is used to working with an accelerated timeline, so it may or may not
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, just kind of thinking about time.
I will, yeah, if you have graphics for your BPAC,
Working on them currently.
okay.
About 1/6 of the way there. On the updates. Not from scratch.
Great. Any other regional items?
I have a just really brief one. I don't know if anyone's been following the transit oriented communities policy discussion with MTCA bag. Okay.
Thought that conversation was over.
Oh, it's
Hasn't that been the conversation that
ongoing.
started in like 10 years ago?
yeah, there's some proposed changes to the policy that MTC is going to be presenting on at our PAC meeting next Thursday. So if you're interested, attend or tune in. It's a Zoom meeting. So they'll be up first, so it'll be a little after 9. Want to hear the latest on that.
All right, transit operator updates. Putting go counterclockwise, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So for Petaluma Transit, we participated in the transit relay on September 23rd. I was out of town, but thanks for Arceli for covering us. And it seemed like it went off really well. So thanks for all the agencies for the great coordination and effort to get that lined up. Great outreach event. Our electric buses are one of the big things at the moment we're working on. We received all 4 of our new Flyer electric buses in July, and we started our construction project last week. And so we're hoping that's completed by the end of the calendar year. But we have all our switchgear ready, our chargers, and so they'll be doing the actual groundbreaking next week and hopefully completing that shortly. And we'll be able to plug in and charge those buses. We're expecting word back on the Lono grant application. From what I understand, we may be hearing back this week on those. We applied for 3 electric buses, although from what I understand, the prospects for electric buses may not be great with that. And then we also applied for a bus and bus facility grants to do a charger, a propane charger for our electric buses. So keep our fingers crossed on those. On the fleet side, our electric cutaways, we issued the purchase order on those, the 5 electric ones that we're buying. So we're hoping to have those in about 2 to 3 months. And then we're giving an update on our LumaGo microtransit service at council on October 20th. If people want, they can tune in on that and see what's happened over the course of the 1-year pilot program. And then I'd like to introduce Arceli. She's our new transit specialist who started with us recently. Want to say hi?
I'm excited to be here. I look forward to working with all of you.
Great, thank you. Stephen. Sonoma County Transit.
So, Dana, you already mentioned the treats study. For those of you who haven't already heard about that, we embarked on that a couple of months ago. We just had another meeting yesterday, and they'll be providing an update on
What
it.
does it stand for?
Good question. I wrote it down just in anticipation of that. It's like on the same level here. So it's TREATS, which is the Transit Enhancements and Active Transportation Study. Yeah. So the tagline with Halloween coming up is, of course, no tricks, only treats.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, this is a tough crowd. I know we need like a little drum roll. So it is being postponed. Formally, the consultant, although they're on board, they're not going to start the analysis until January. We're, as you know, we've had issues with our APCs, and we're going with a new vendor, so we'll have the APCs up and running by then, and we're still going to move forward with data collection. And so a couple of folks here, a couple of the other agencies will be getting an email with data requests, so just a little heads up. Let's see, we're excited that we're gonna get a couple more 35-foot EV buses from BYD Ride here pretty soon, probably by the end of this month or early next month. So that'll expand our fleet of EVs to 11. Our charger yard project is still on hold for a bus duct, which is hopefully going to arrive by mid-November. And so we'll move forward again at that point and hopefully open that up next spring. So that'll provide us with 19 chargers in our yard, 38 buses charging overnight. So I think that's about it for me. Thanks.
David.
To close the loop on our revised mascots proposal specific to Sonoma County, the changes that we'll be moving forward with compared to what we originally proposed are that Route 172 will continue to operate in service out of Pioneer and Industrial and not go into service at the transit mall. It will go to the transit mall, but it'll already be in service from Pioneer and Industrial. The Route 172 will also continue to pick up and drop off local passengers in San Francisco, just because we don't have the ability to accommodate those passengers on our other routes. Service, of course, is timed, depending on roadway conditions, of course, but the Route 172 will be timed between other routes, so hopefully it won't be inundated by any local passengers. And the proposal in Marin County does add a few trips to some other commute service that will help on those kind of shoulder peak hours where a 172 might currently be out there by itself. But then there would be like a 132, within a few minutes or so. That should help with that issue. But for Sonoma County, that's really the only change.
Does the 172 have a larger span than most of your commute routes?
Yes, I would say it's a little bit more generous than average. But
later?
I think, in the morning, I think it's currently the last bus in slightly, by like 10 or so minutes. And then in the afternoon, currently, it's the first bus out by at least half an hour or so.
Okay.
But with the expansion of Route 132, that'll no longer really be an issue because the 132 will have a similar service.
Similar span.
And the 132 will actually be the last bus in the morning and the first bus out in the afternoon as part of the change. And also the last bus out in the evening. So, well, no, the 114 is, but it'll be much better for the 172 in terms of luck of the draw. And so that's the key change for the Sonoma County portion of the proposal. Everything with the 101 is as proposed. And same with the 164 and 172X going away. We are going to model the service with the assumption that stop on D Street is open by April 13th or whatever that Monday is that we're looking for. And then also I'll probably—
Can you remind me remind us how that will change the circulation?
Oh yeah, so right now in the morning, the 172 runs west on East Washington Street from the freeway to Petaluma Boulevard. And so by that D Street stop being ADA accessible, we'll be able to turn left on Copeland and right on D Street to get to Petaluma Boulevard South, which speeds up service a little bit. It was more of a concern for the 101 than the 172, but nonetheless, it is.
Does it currently not go through the transit mall?
Correct. In the morning, it does not go through the transit mall.
Okay.
And then right on D Street. Yeah. And then in the afternoon, it still will be the same alignment, which is D to Copeland to East Washington. And then
Wait, is that what it does today, or that's what it will do in the future?
Oh, so it still won't go through the transit mall?
no, so the afternoon service currently does and will continue to go through the transit mall. The morning bus, currently the bus stops out on East Washington there's like an auto parts store there, I want to say. And so now the bus stop will be on D Street next to the railroad tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. So it'll be a little bit closer to everything. And then it allows us to go a little faster through downtown Petaluma. And then similarly, would this be a Yuri or Matt question? But we want to change the pickup stop at the transit mall to the other side of the street,
Yeah,
which I think we're probably the only bus running at 4 a.m. So
so, yeah, just, yeah, shoot any or all of us an email. We'll
Okay.
follow up.
Okay, we've got some time,
Eric's
but
bus stop guy, but
okay.
maybe copy me just so I can stay in the loop.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes, a few months to work that out. So
The north side or the south side is.
yeah, so because right now in the morning, the 172 has to loop around the transit mall, kind of does this zigzag through, and we're looking to save time wherever we can on the route
Yeah.
to compensate for the lack of express service through San Francisco.
Yeah.
So we're every little spot that we can, we want to speed it up. I think that's it for the proposal. Happy to answer questions on the Marin stuff or anything else if you have it. And then we will not have a January sign up. We, internally, we still have quarterly signups for our bus drivers where they pick new runs. And those do not line up with the actual January and August regional service change dates. So since mascots will be in April, we will not make changes in January. And we can thank BART for not changing their January schedule because that allows us to also not change our January schedule. And then other than that, we're waiting with bated breath on Clipper 2.0. We'll see how that goes. There's a lot of moving pieces there, and if it's full launch, that would be great because it's probably be a lot easier for us to try to explain to our customers what's going on, especially in Marin County. But then that will also start a process where we can hopefully make some of the other improvements in our system that have been indefinitely delayed, like fare zone consolidation and that sort of thing, that we really want to get out of the change. And on the ferry side, we have some issues with the fares that are charged for open payment versus if you buy a ticket out of the vending machine, the prices are substantially different. And so, which was not originally envisioned as an issue because Clipper 2.0 was supposed to be this big, great thing that would solve a lot of our business rule issues. And a lot of that got put on ice. So we need to pick that back up once we flip the switch. This MTC says no changes until the
Yep.
switch has been flipped. Other than that, just a quick update on ridership. Well, not ridership, but bridge traffic for the month of August was up 3% overall, which is good news since that's a primary funding mechanism for our transit service. Bus ridership itself was up 8% compared to the previous year's August, and ferry was up 11%. So we're still continuing to see that upward trend, which is great. San Francisco is starting to dust off some of the cobwebs. There's been some news in the past week about some businesses coming back to the downtown area. So every little bit helps. And office vacancy is now gone down a little bit. I want to say it's like at 35% instead of 37%. And there's been a lot of like leases that have expired. So the ones that are active now are really where people are more likely to actually be coming in at least 2 or 3 days a week rather than they just already paid for it and nobody was entering the office. So hopefully that trend continues. Any questions? I'm here.
On the 172, does keeping those local stops in the city increase your travel time? I mean, in your schedule, does it affect your schedule?
Well, we have the current travel time. It won't increase over what's currently there. Most of the streets are one lane per direction, so we can't really easily pass except for at the bus stops themselves. So there would not be a significant runtime difference if we did restrict the local ridership. So, but I would say generally is, probably just depending on your luck at Lombard and Fillmore is 2 or 3 minutes longer, at that stop, and Van Ness and Chestnut might be another minute or 2 longer. But otherwise it's about the same.
We're going to talk about the one-on-one schedules, but I don't know if you have all your schedules drafted for April. That would be nice to we're just interested in looking at total travel time. I mean, I think that we should work on this together to provide some public information since
we're gonna be encouraging more people to transfer at San Rafael
Yeah.
for the 101. So I wanted to sort of provide some comprehensive comparison of, the 172 one-seat ride, you know, versus the transfer at San Rafael versus the
Yep.
transfer to the ferry. And those are gonna vary, depending on the time of day, so.
Yeah. And we're waiting until there's enough new data on the HOV lanes, because we know that the travel times for the 172 will be different than what they are currently. For the other service, we do have draft schedules with our best guess on what the reduction in travel time in San Francisco will be as a result of there being more service, but we haven't locked that down. So it'll be some number that's better than what the current schedules show, but whether that's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 minutes is hard to say. We've taken an initial look, and like some of the running times along Mission Street seem a little excessive currently. In the future where there are 4 or 5 buses an hour or 6 buses an hour going down that way versus 3 or 4. Because we have very long dwell times in the city, so every little bit helps.
Why is that?
Because we make our customers pay, unlike Muni, where it's proof of payment, which means you just hop on and hope for the best. Also, our fares, we do round them to the nearest quarter now, for the past 10 years, but they're still complicated numbers like 875 or 750, and people have to fish out dollar bills and quarters.
Thank you. All right. Kathleen.
I'll talk about mascots because it's on top of mind. So we released our service proposal to our board this Monday, and it's all public. And we have done something different than, because Golden Gate changed to continue to serve several of the bus pads in Southern Marin. We're not going to do the combining of the 2 routes. We've proposed kind of a rerouting of one of the routes, so it will still simplify service along the 101. The big change sort of mascots related is the 71 is our trunk route that goes all the way up and down the 101, and we're going to connect to San Marin Smart. So we're going to go from the very top of the county to the very bottom. So 71 will now be San Marin Smart all the way to Sausalito. So that connects to 2 additional kind of regional hubs with our main trunk route. So that's the big mascot. Oh, and then right now we have the 36 that comes out of the canal and goes down all along the 101 in Southern Marin. We're actually taking it, we have proposed to take it east, and it would serve the Larkspur Ferry. So that's another regional connection point. And it could even be a way that you'd get from like East Canal to Smart if you wanted to. If you, for some people, it might make more sense to take that to Smart in Larkspur than to take it to the San Rafael Transit Center. So anyway, we're getting feedback on that over the next month. We're taking comments through October 31st. We are having 2 hearings and kind of community workshops on the 15th and 16th. It would be great to have maps, just so that we had them for reference. If people people are likely to ask us about your proposals. So if we had printed copies of your maps, that would be great. Which I think should be possible because you'll be showing something whatever you can show to BPAC, it would be great to get.
Yeah, we'll have something this week because our internal deadline for the staff report, which will be Appendix B.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
This Friday. So.
Okay, great. And yeah, we're doing a bunch of other things as well. We're also, just FYI, doing a kind of a briefing for Southern Marin elected officials in conjunction with Golden Gate about the mascots changes in Southern Marin later this month. And so that's mascots. We are planning on adopting in December. So we're to give ourselves time to really take the whole month to get public comment. We'll summarize that for our November board. And then if we need to make any tweaks, we'll take the final proposal to December and adopt, which still should give us plenty of time for April service change. We are also just approved a contract for to update our bus stop guidelines. So we're excited about that. We haven't updated those in a very long time, and kind of makes them a little more official. It was a little bit of a compilation of documents before, and it'll be an official bus stop guidelines, which we're looking forward to completing and then sharing with our cities on the transit coordination issue we talked about earlier. And then the other thing is we have one TSP project. So TAM has undertaken a countywide signals project, basically assessment to look at all the issues with signals in the county and try and be more coordinated. TSP is going to be a big part of that to look countywide, but we also have a specific TSP project that we're working on with the city of San Rafael that has just gained new life again. It kind of went dormant for a minute, but so we're really excited about that because we have never done a full, TSP. We now have equipped all our buses to enable TSP on our end. But this is the first time we'll be able to actually link in with signals in one of our jurisdictions. So we're excited about that. And then our facility continues to move along. We got a little kind of bogged down in some of the technical studies in the CEQA, but we're hoping to release that in the next month or two. And yeah, keep moving forward on our facility. So those are the big things I thought to mention.
Thank you. Smart had 2 events over the weekend. They were sort of belated grand opening parties for 2 pathway segments that were built.
That were built and effectively completed when our stations at Windsor and Petaluma North opened, but we had trouble with the signals for many months and so couldn't officially open them. So they are now officially opened. I think we had around 50 or 60 people at each of the events. It was great. We tried to keep them very simple. And I know, famous last words, but and just had a very few number of speakers, and then it was mostly a walk and roll type event. And lots of kids came out, so that was great. I think I mentioned last time we awarded the Healdsburg contract, so all the energy at SMART is focused on headed north to Healdsburg. Ridership is good. We were 30% over last September. Anything else to report? I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay, I just have a few quick items. I know I'm the last one here. Our leased Golden Gate buses are now fully in service. Everybody loves them. We're gonna have to pry them out of our operators' fingers to send them back when it's time, but super grateful for that partnership. It's really helped out, and our fleet division is now giving us 100% on time preventative maintenance because we actually have spares. So many thanks to Golden Gate.
The wraps look great, by the way.
What's that?
The wraps.
Oh.
You actually
Although
put
they look
something
great.
on the
Yeah,
bus?
they look pretty good, right? They look like city buses. Yeah. I mean, you can really only, it's like just the one door is the tip off, right? But otherwise they look good. Yeah, and our 6 Gilligs electric buses are still expected next month. So we may be able to send some of the Golden Gate buses back as soon as those are up and running, but cross that bridge when we come to it. We're going to be kicking off some local service planning around our component of mascots implementation in terms of local service connectivity. So there'll be more to report out on that. And that's going to, of course, be coordinated with treats on the shared corridor. So I look forward to talking about your timing and how those things could match up, Stephen. And then the last thing I'll just note is we had our Safe Driver Awards annual dinner on Sunday, and it was just a really nice event. We had 41 operators receiving awards for driving without preventable accidents, which is, 41 out of 48, so pretty good. And that includes not even dinging a mirror on like something, it's like completely accident-free driving. We had a number of operators getting, like a 35-year award, that sort of thing, which is pretty cool. And then one thing that was really neat that I know this group will understand, we have had a lot of turnover, a lot of new bus operators. We had a whole bunch of operators getting their 1-year awards for, their first year of driving buses accident-free. And that's awesome. We have a really great group of new bus operators, and it was cool to see them getting that first award. So just a really nice event. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. I think we covered all the agencies, yeah? All right, take this to other business comments or announcements. All right, not hearing any. Thank you all. Oh, just a quick note, the bottom of the agenda notes, SCTA, RCPA board meeting, on November 10th, that's been canceled. So our next board meeting is the second Monday of December. Thank you.
Do you think that'll affect TTAC at all? We'll probably still just see you on the 12th.
still meet on the 12th, yeah. Yeah, I don't think we have anything that would be directly feeding into our board. Thank you.
Thanks.